welcome to another Dance Mama in Conversation. We have an electrifying conversation, I'm sure, coming forth today with Principal of Scottish Ballet, Bethany Kingsley Garner. Now, Bethany is no stranger to Dance Mama because she's going to be featuring in our forthcoming film, which is very exciting. But also Bethany's taken part in Dance Mama Live over the last year and in our weekly technique classes with Lucy Balfour. So she's very much in the Dance Mama world. And I'm thrilled to be able to have this time with her today. I know she's in the middle of rehearsing at the moment, to just speak to her a little bit more about her experience, a bit more in depth with you. And I'm sure you will find it so inspiring, and with some top tips, I'm sure, of how to juggle everything. So welcome, Bethany.
Hello Lucy, and hello everyone at Dance Mama.
Brilliant. Well, let's kick off and just with a really easy start, describe your setup at the moment. What's kind of the family unit and what sort of things are you doing career-wise?
Okay, so my family at home is my husband, my 6-month-old baby girl Elizabeth, and my 2 cats.
Excellent.
15 years in Scottish Ballet, and I am day 3 back from maternity.
So this is absolutely, I mean, what a privilege we're getting to speak to you at such an early stage. And tell us a little bit about what it was like becoming pregnant over the pandemic, and just a little bit more insight, to that in that context, as well as a Dance Mama.
Yes, I think that I absolutely loved my pregnancy. I loved being pregnant and my bump and dancing with my baby. Actually, now that I'm rehearsing what we're doing, I actually learned when I was pregnant, and I can see myself on the screen with her, and it's so nice. So I think the first trimester is always a little bit stressful. You always have that worry of it not holding, and I think that being a dance mama and knowing our bodies, and through the grapevine of lots of wonderful, incredible dance mamas who maybe haven't always had smooth and pregnancies, that you kind of take every single day in that first trimester safely, and then you really relax into it. And well, do you ever relax? I don't know. You seem to relax more into it. And now I'm here today with a 6 month. Yeah.
Goodness me. And it's sort of, I mean, I suppose at the time during your pregnancy, was there any activity going on in the studio, or kind of, because it's 2022, we've been in, out and out.
I know we have. Now it's, what lockdown was it in? So when I fell pregnant, I did one last little show at 8 weeks, which was, it was still in lockdown, but we managed to secure a theatre for the company just to have a sort of a private dip the toe in the water again, just before we broke up for our Christmas season. So I did Sugar Plum. I didn't tell my partner that I was pregnant, but at the time I did tell all the staff and everyone, and I felt very safe and comfortable doing it.
Brilliant.
And I have the pictures to show, but it was emotional doing that. And I knew that when I took the tutu off and my shoes and the tiara, and I thought, that's, I'm putting them away for a little bit, because I've got the biggest show of my life coming. And then I carried on dancing, for what I felt comfortable with, just being surrounded by my team and listening to the music, having some sort of structure. Yes, really helped me, I guess, stay who I was, really. And that's in me. Dance is in me. So to suddenly go, oh, I'm not doing it now. I did it right up until the day she came. So
wow. Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people don't necessarily understand, if it's not their profession or their vocation, is that it's so much part of us and part of our identity. And because our body's used to that level of rigor and intensity,
You can't suddenly stop.
Yeah, yeah.
It's alien to stop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really is, and I think it's so brilliant that you felt really comfortable and empowered to be able to talk about your pregnancy and be supported through your pregnancy, and just so brilliant that nurturing context was there for you, because we know for many people who are not in companies and freelance, unfortunately,
I think there's always that worry, isn't it, when you're pregnant? Do you tell someone, do you not? And in my head it was, I want to have my support network around me if and when I need them.
Yeah.
It's almost too late if you then rely on them when you're at a desperate time. So I wanted my support team, my guest network, to know.
Absolutely. Preparation, but I'm sure we're going to come back to it. And then as you kind of got into motherhood and around that time, brilliantly timed for a bit of Dance Mum Alive to be going on, and
yes, oh my goodness me, it was just wonderful. I actually was quite early doing my first Dance Mama class. I think, maybe she was only 8 weeks, and I just knew that even if I just wanted to watch or just listen, it was there for me.
I mean, half of it is actually being with like-minded other people, and because it's so niche, we're all spread out all over the UK. But it was just so wonderful to be able to see you be able to be yourself, but know that you're held in a space that your maternal role is completely, the permission is granted.
And I think instead of, as dancers, you're ready to dance a lot sooner than you are ready to have that time away from your little one. That's what I felt. So I was ready to move and almost to share that with her, but I wasn't ready to, I'm just going to have half an hour now. So the whole fact that I could have it both together with the classes, that was the pinnacle of, I found myself again. I safely found my movement again. And then each time, sometimes she slept through the class, I was like, oh, I had quite a long time on my own then. And it was like that stepping stone preparing me to come back to company life almost.
Brilliant. And just it's so heartening to hear that, and that you felt that way, because really we wanted to sort of set those classes up. So what we've been able to do is be inclusive.
Yes.
So they can be there, and if there's napping, great, you might get a little bit more out of it than you do on a week where you might need to feed, but it's having that continuous connection and completely creating it, because 9 years ago with me, that wasn't there at all, and I felt quite isolated, cut off, and it was really weird. And like you say, kind of having that sense of that you're going to put something down that you've been doing from a really young age that you've probably never had a break from is quite bizarre, and very much because we are surrounded by our networks in dance, they become our family and our friends, and then again to be disconnected from that is really disorientating. So I'm so pleased with that, and of course we do have children in those sessions all the time.
Well, definitely.
And that's the point, but the point is also that that's okay, and normalizing that, rather than it feeling when we're kind of in real sort of person to person space, that you have to ask permission for that, or actually you might not be able to get to that class. There might be a travel barrier, or you might not be able to be invited to bring your child in. I wondered as well, in terms of kind of Scottish and role models and things, I know that you've been in a Crystal Pites piece before.
Yes, I have.
And I wondered whether she might have been a role model to you, or who those might be.
Well, I have done Crystal Pite work, lovely work, and she is definitely inspiring in the studio. and off and outside the studio. Goodness, I felt almost that I wanted to become quite strong of precedent of having a baby in a ballet company in the present day now, and I felt that quite strongly that I didn't want to feel this huge separation.
Yeah,
I wanted to kind of have them merged together, which you see does work, and it can work. And having that in my head, I feel like I've had such a smooth, phased return that I've never suddenly felt like, okay, that door's shut, now this one's open. It's always been open. It's just how far I decided to open it and close it.
Yeah.
So I guess in terms of role models, always looking at dancers who have had children and just seeing how they come back to dance. That's probably one of the first things, isn't it? You think, am I going to come back? And I know we've spoken about, I don't believe any one dancer goes into having a baby not thinking that they might not go back.
Yeah.
You always have something in the back if you need to.
Yeah. And again, I think a lot of that thinking we want to for the current generation and future generations to try and get more information through PhD and other research that's going on, so we have more concrete evidence, because we don't have any at the moment. We don't have concrete academic evidence, scientific or psychological or anything, that can give us specific guidelines to really support that re-entry back into work. And it's
so personal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is so personal.
With it. Yeah.
And it's not, I've been injured before. It's not like coming back from an injury.
No.
It's like you're for the first time in my career, I was off performing for some beautiful reason. And normally when you're off performing, it's because you've got a sore ankle or you're wanting to get back. So already you're coming back in a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're coming back at the mindset of, how am I going to juggle this? My mind on a performance day used to be, this is my breakfast, this is my training, this is what time I prepare for the show. Now it's, I get up when she wants to get up. I do the feed. Make sure I have playtime with her, do her walk. Does she cut a nap? Have I had quality time together? Maybe fit in those things I need to do. So it's those, things which.
Yeah, the tracks of what needs to happen are just then multiplied.
Yeah.
And it's, and also, they of course require so much attention, babies in particular, and children, that then all of the space that has been required before to operate as a human, particularly as a mum, then gets compressed.
Yeah.
And it's trying to acclimatize to that, but also carve out times where that compression can release a bit, which again, unfortunately, those 7 out of 10 who unfortunately at the moment are opting out of their careers just cannot and don't have the support to be able to do. But also, as we said, in terms of even engaging in the classes on mat leave, it's a good supported exercise in knowing that it's not straightforward anymore.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you have to roll with the punches even more.
Yes.
Than I don't know, having a power cut in a theatre or something else happening, that interferes with trying to birth that production or that moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So in terms of combating the chaos, Bethany.
Yes.
How are you managing that?
Organisation. I do love organising, I think it's really come into its own. It's also, I do share parenting with my husband.
Yeah.
So that is a blessing that I know that absolutely, hands out to the women out there who are doing it for those children and babies. My goodness me. I mean, it's just incredible. So it's just timetabling it, even to the point where when I go to bed, I make sure that I have my things out ready for breakfast, because I know if I eat, then I can
function.
So I make sure I get up earlier than her. So even if it's just 5 minutes, and have my little bit, and then juggling the nursery with my mum's childcare, husband's childcare.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Then all the positive kind of cultural traits we have and characteristics in the dance profession of being disciplined, being organised, and being prepared.
Oh, they come into their own.
Even as you talked about it, I can imagine you laying out your breakfast table, like the props table.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It's exactly the same. And you're right. It's kind of, there's positive and negatives, I think, to the psychology of dance folk, but definitely this is the side of it where we can really apply those skills and transfer them across to our absolute betterment in that.
Yes, definitely.
I think where we can trip ourselves up, and definitely where I did, was around the perfectionism stuff, and or the sense of completion. And even something really basic like loading the dishwasher, I could get quite annoyed if I got interrupted doing that, because I'd want the sense of completion of getting the task done. Whereas now, I think, well, after quite a long time as well being mum, I've kind of grown to just kind of let that go a bit.
Yeah, you can't possibly do everything you did before in the day. You can try.
Yeah, but then you'll feel like a bit frazzled.
And also what I've learned is just having just time with her, with no distractions, with no, like I make sure in the morning I have even an hour, and we play and we do that. Probably fills her for the day. And I think that really making time for that.
Absolutely. And I'm sure she's kind of a phase now as well, where is she starting to sit up and all of those things, and again through the lens of being a dance mama, all of that physical development as well. With what we know,
I find myself going, come on, you can do it, and she's trying to crawl, and it's just one of those things, isn't it? Or also, because we listen to so much music at home, I think she knows all the dances now. We do when she's in the bouncer, we do dance time, and
oh, it's just so wonderful. And then in terms of the company itself, so do you just for anyone who's not in the sector, do you have sort of a therapist in terms of like physical therapy or those sorts of supports to help you?
So pre-birth and after birth I had appointments with a pelvic floor specialist, and that's because it's something out of the realm of our physiotherapist. It kind of just for a little bit more, just to make sure, because with dancing it's so physical, you want to make sure you're really okay and strong enough to be able to fulfill the full movements of stretches without injuring, without damaging anything. So I had that, and then I had a phased return to where I am now, where I did a lot of gyrotonics. So it's kind of, it's weight bearing, but you're lying down. And I did that with Elizabeth. She came to work with me for the last 3 months, which was just so lovely. It's nice now I'm here because her presence is here. I can feel, she's part of it, part of the furniture now, which was important.
And like you say, then it beautifully gets that integration.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And pelvic floor health is massive. Is really
so important. I don't know if we speak about it enough, actually.
No, and I don't think we do. I mean, I think it's starting to get much more airtime, particularly with our colleagues and peers who work with elite athletes and sports, definitely. But still, I think with dance, it can be a bit hidden.
Yeah, and it's funny because one of the first things you're taught as dancers is how to hold yourself. And it's almost about how to work that area and how to pull up and keep that support. And when you go through something like birth, whatever birth you had, it's been through a trauma.
Yeah, yeah,
So to get back something which you've maybe been working since you maybe were 11 years old,
yeah,
or learning how to, it takes time. I mean, now I'm starting partnering again, and I am feeling, whoa, every now and then, like a flag waving in the wind, and then I kind of, something kicks in, and like, okay, there it is, and it just locks again. But yeah.
yeah. And I think it takes, I mean, still we're, you know, 6 months after, like at the 5 years mark, so where are they? Where's those mid TAs? But also sort of finding that connection again and rewiring that connection.
It's so much about connectivity.
Yeah.
It's of just tuning into yourself, of knowing where the muscles lie now, because you are in a different body.
Yeah, totally. And same kind of, hips get wider, rib cage gets wider, and then all kind of the upper body as well, with you know, your neck and forward head and shoulders and all of that.
And just now, how I carry her, how I feed her, how, you know, there's all those things extra when you go home.
Yeah,
you know, that you have.
Yeah, and being mindful. I mean, particularly with Callie, I remember carrying her a lot on the left so I could be busy, do stuff with the right. And then I went to get checked out, probably a little bit too late. And my pelvis was twisted to the left because I've been taking all the weight that side. So the second time I was much more aware to be a bit more balanced, but then kind of a bit frustrated that nobody kind of could have flagged that up at the beginning. And again, I think that's down to the challenge that actually most people who work professionally in dance or sport have, talking to their GP or midwifery team who don't necessarily have that understanding either of those demands of what that body might be required to do to go back into the workspace.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're really hoping over time that we can start those education pieces around that as well. Really
amazing.
But I mean, I know there's plenty of work to do on that front. What do you feel, I suppose, is the most challenging aspect right now?
I think there's two. There's the emotional challenge.
Yeah.
And that's the emotional challenge of not being with her every minute of every day.
Yeah.
But you know, like I knew, and I think if anything didn't feel right, I think as a mother, you do know that actually I need to, you know, I like tomorrow morning, I'm like, oh, I want to have the morning with her.
Yeah.
So you make those decisions, and I think that even though it's a challenge, it's one you work together. And I think that I'm proud to say that I'm able to go back to my job that I love and I have done for years, and it fulfills me, and also be a fulfilling and positive figure for my daughter. I think that's because there is always that worry, isn't it, of when to do it, and I mean, I went round and round and round in circles of lots of different scenarios, and then I kept coming back to the same one. So that's probably the emotional challenge.
Yeah.
Then the black and white challenge is just getting that body going, and that mental aspect of being back at work.
Yeah.
Of concentration, I think. Because you're still tired, you're still feeding in the night, you know.
Yeah. And do you feel like the rest of the company are quite, even though if they might not have experienced that themselves, that they have some understanding that?
Yeah, I think when I was a dancer as well, and you could see the mothers and fathers being tired or saying they were tired, I understood that they must be juggling a lot. And it's different from maybe when someone comes in today and you kind of sometimes think of saying, you've almost done 4 hours of work before I get to work.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it because it's love, isn't it? I mean, you love doing it, but it's still that I don't think you really will understand until you're actually living and breathing it.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of, giving you space around that, particularly kind of in the studio.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just incredible. I just go, I need a 5. I need to leave the room for a minute. I just want to call and check she's okay. Because even those things,
Yeah, they're always kind of here.
Yeah. Instead of thinking about it in my head, I was just vocal and said what I needed, or I'd be kind. They would anyway, but it just helps to say it sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Breathing space. I had a really good chat with my dance partners. Hadn't been lifted for nearly 2 years, so just don't put me on your head if I'm not ready.
But in a weird way, there's a few things I want to pick up on there, but just sort of starting with that in terms of break from it, because of the interference of the pandemic, it's actually given people who aren't necessarily new parents a bit of an insight into the lifestyle around that, and not having or having chunks of time where they won't be engaging in the same activities and kind of reacclimatizing. So I think in some ways that's been quite helpful, but in terms of you being a role model, absolutely, to Elizabeth. But like you say, in terms of the industry and beyond as a whole, it's enormous. The repercussions of that in a very positive way, you probably won't be able to see or feel because it's so big and important, and it really helps other people feel, I think, in the same generation, reassured that it is absolutely possible. Because I think absolutely in generations above us, wasn't even considered that it would be a possibility. And for those to trailblaze for those coming up, and particularly young people, I think, as well, in training now, what we're hoping to do as well is start doing more education work with them earlier on in their training, so they don't kind of reach that point like most of us have and then go there's more of a, you can do it, it's not easy, but it can be done, and there's lots of work that needs to be done around the entire sector of the support that needs to be in place to enable that person to
I think it's so right, isn't it? So it's different job and career, this, because you do start younger, and I think that all guns blazing when you start off, the thought about having time out to start a family sometimes just isn't even on the radar, and then sometimes it does suddenly crop up on you. So I think having that support network and seeing it as possible from an early age might also would enable people to be able to come back to dance as well, which we're seeing now people are drifting off, which I think they didn't necessarily have to.
And you think of all of the time, energy, money, parent driving them around to classes, auditions, competitions, shows, that stuff, and it just then seems to me totally bonkers when the industry is probably about 40,000 people large and about 80% of us are women. It's, of course, this is a huge issue, kind of depletes the sector of such richness of talent and creativity that goes because of all these pressures generally. And then we're the poorer for it. And not just in terms of the depth and the richness of the work, but also in terms of you must have more resources to put in the acting sense and in the expression from your experience going into motherhood, but also, again, the female leadership, the female choreographers, and people in those decision making positions
Mhm.
having that depth of understanding to be more inclusive.
Right.
So what are you working on at the moment, if you can tell us?
So I am working on a ballet called Myling to open in, I think it's around 8 weeks time. And I'm just working at the touring now to make sure that I have enough room for her in each place.
Yeah.
Juggling that. And I'm looking forward to be back on stage, definitely. It's been, well, pre-COVID, I think it's been about 2 years before I last felt that warmth of an audience. Yeah. And I was able to express and give my, gift and out. So that's going to be really nice. To get there will be a bit ropey, but once I'm there, I'll be fine.
Oh, I'm sure you will navigate it just so beautifully. I suppose, just on that note, are there any kind of other things you've done artistically just for yourself in that time period, as well as the largest creative act that you can do, which is make a raise a human? But just out of curiosity, if there are any other kind of artistic pursuits that have interested you?
I just kept improvising, or even just listening to my music, and I think that was a pursuit that, I just, obviously taking part with Dance Mama was a big thing, but if it's embedded in you, if it's in your bloodstream, then it's something that
but you perhaps might not have had as much time to improvise before.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's totally kind of different aspect to it, rather than being in the collaborative process.
Yeah, definitely.
Learning repertoire.
And actually, coming back, one thing I have enjoyed is there's very few times in your career you can strip down and start from scratch again. Yeah. And that's exactly what pregnancy enables you to do.
Yeah.
But you're actually starting from scratch with a layer of empowerment of knowing what your body can do, of having that strength, and kind of just working again from a place with your body. And I've really enjoyed that.
Superb. Well, Bethany, I know you probably have to whiz off back to rehearsal, but it is so brilliant to hear you speak so passionately about how positive your experience has been, which is an absolute beacon for everyone else out there. Absolutely. And for Scottish Ballet, how they support their dancers and nurture them through parenthood, and how your experience is really going to ignite and support other upcoming parents, whether they're a mama, a papa, or however they want to identify themselves, because you're living it and you're doing it now, and it's not an easy route. None of us are saying that.
But it's so worth it.
So worth it. And to have that fulfillment personally, in both areas of your life, it's symbiotic, isn't it? They feed each other.
Yes, they do.
So, Bethany, have you got any kind of last pieces of advice you might want to give?
It's possible.
It's possible.
It's possible, and it's just another level of love and fulfillment.
Bethany, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.